The Black Panther Party, founded in 1966 by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, is one of the most significant and controversial political organizations in the history of the United States. Born in the heart of Oakland, California, the BPP's roots were deep in the black community's struggle against systemic oppression. What began as a small group aimed at protecting African Americans from police brutality would grow into an international symbol of black power, resistance, and pride. In the mid-1960s, America was in turmoil. The civil rights movement had made significant strides, but deep racial inequality, police violence, and social neglect still plagued black communities. The assassination of Malcolm X in 1965, just a year before the BPP was formed, left a powerful void in the leadership of the black liberation struggle. In this climate of unrest, Newton and Seale, both young and inspired by the teachings of Malcolm X, sought a new way to empower black people. The Black Panther Party's earliest mission was to defend black communities against police brutality. Inspired by the teachings of revolutionary leaders like Mao Zedong and Frantz Fanon, the Panthers took to the streets with armed self-defense and a bold political agenda. They carried rifles and patrol cars, ensuring that the Oakland police, known for their aggressive treatment of black residents, were held accountable for their actions. This was not just a violent, reactionary stance, it was a calculated political strategy. The Black Panther Party's leadership believed in the right of oppressed people to defend themselves against violence. They were not just resisting police, they were resisting a system that kept black Americans marginalized and exploited. Their militant rhetoric and the sight of armed black men and women in the streets struck fear in many, but it also inspired countless others. However, the Panthers were not just about resistance, they were also about building up their communities. One of their most important contributions was their series of community programs known as the Free Breakfast for Children program, health clinics, and educational initiatives. At the height of their influence, the Black Panther Party ran breakfast programs that fed thousands of children daily, often providing the only meal these kids would get. They also established free medical clinics, which offered care to the underserved black population, and set up community schools that taught black history and self-empowerment. The party's focus on community service was revolutionary in itself, as it provided a practical solution to the most pressing issues facing black communities. These initiatives showed that the Black Panther Party was more than just a militant organization. It was a community-based movement dedicated to tangible change. But the Black Panther Party's legacy cannot be separated from the context of state repression and surveillance. As their influence grew, so did the FBI's fear of the party. Under the controversial COINTELPRO program, the FBI began a campaign of surveillance, infiltration, and disruption aimed at neutralizing the Panthers. Leaders like Fred Hampton were targeted by the FBI, and in 1969 Hampton, one of the most charismatic figures of the Black Panther Party, was murdered in a police raid in Chicago. Hampton's death and the violent tactics used against the Black Panther Party would only fuel the party's resolve, but also began its decline. By the early 1970s, the Black Panther Party was under constant attack from law enforcement, the media, and even internal divisions. As the years passed, funding dwindled, leadership was arrested or assassinated, and the party's revolutionary dreams began to wane. But despite their disbandment in the late 1980s, the Panthers' influence continued to shape future generations. The Black Panther Party's struggle for justice, freedom, and equality inspired later movements, from the fight for police reform to the Black Lives Matter movement. Their legacy endures not only in the political battles they fought but in the cultural impact they left behind. The Black Panther Party's image, strong, defiant, and unapologetic, has become an enduring symbol of resistance. Their insistence on black pride, their advocacy for self-determination, and their challenge to the status quo resonated across racial and class lines, and their message remains relevant today in the fight for racial justice. The Black Panther Party's legacy is complicated, multifaceted, and deeply human. They were not just warriors in the streets, they were ordinary people, mothers, fathers, students, and workers, who felt the need to stand up for their communities. They embodied both the pain and the hope that comes from living in a society that marginalizes you. They were not perfect, but they were driven by an undeniable desire to make the world a better, more just place for Black Americans. And in their pursuit of that goal, The Black Panther Party left a blueprint for activism, self-love, and resistance that continues to inspire people around the world, reminding us that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, a few determined individuals can spark a movement that changes the world.